Welcome back to episode 7 of OKnowsSports. This is the best place for all NFL news, my favorite takes of the week, my favorite bets of the week, and as you guys know by now, a featured sport of the week. Let's get into our Week 16 action. What happened? Let's summarize it. I'm going to give my favorite takes about it. Let's get into it right now. So, if you didn't watch last video, I'll talk about it a little bit. We predicted that the Ravens would take down the 49ers. I knew it would be a great game. I did not think it would be a blowout. That Ravens team is special, and they released a statement on the 49ers in their house. Also, Baker Mayfield, I talked about it last episode. He's that guy. He took down that Jags team with ease. You better watch out for the Bucs if they sneak into the playoffs because Baker's a gamer. He treats every game like it's the Super Bowl. It's unbelievable to watch. He's running over linebackers like he's Cam Newton's size when realistically he can barely even run. It's awesome to watch. We also predicted the Dolphins. They've got a huge matchup this week against the Ravens, but we predicted the Dolphins to take down the Cowboys. That was a narrow victory in a last-second field goal. But Tua looked good. That Cowboys team's good. Those are both going to be playoff contenders. It was a great week 16. I hope you guys enjoyed your Christmas. I'm glad to be back on episode 7 of OKnowsSports. We got a lot of topics to talk about today. First off, week 17. If you haven't seen it yet, the Broncos just released that Jarrett Stidham, that's right, Jarrett Stidham from the old Patriots team, will be starting this week for the Broncos. And I just recently read that they are actually planning on cutting Russell Wilson in late March. In case you didn't know, he's being paid $39 million a year. That's Russell Wilson. He's won a Super Bowl. He's been to a Super Bowl. He's a legendary quarterback. He's a Hall of Famer potentially. They are planning on cutting him. I want to know in the comments what you guys think about this. So if you are the Broncos and you are cutting ties with Russell Wilson, obviously you're planning on drafting a QB. This is a great QB draft class. For those of you that don't know, Drake May out of North Carolina is great. Caleb Williams, obviously the star stud. He's the star of the show. And then also J.J. McCarthy, I guess he's kind of a game manager out of Michigan. And then Jaden Daniels out of LSU, the Heisman winner. So it's a great draft class. Michael Penix as well for quarterback. So I'm not surprised that Denver is doing this, but I am surprised that they're choosing to cut ties with him and not be a mentor potentially for one of these newer quarterbacks. Comment what you think about this because I'm interested to hear what you guys think, why they're doing this and kind of so soon to decide that they're going to just cut him and cut ties and start Jarrett Stidham of all people. I don't know. I do know that the Broncos have also expressed interest in Justin Fields. I want to hear your guys' take. I'm going to give mine right here. But would you give up Justin Fields and then you draft as the Bears GM maybe Caleb Williams at number 1, maybe Drake May at number 1? Personally, I think Justin Fields is the guy for the Bears, especially if they can trade out of that pick to somebody like the Broncos. Maybe pick up a star defensive player like Justin Simmons, not necessarily needed in the Bears secondary, and a first-round pick. I don't know. I think that number 1 pick for the Bears is very valuable, and you could package it for something extremely valuable considering what they got for Bryce Young last year. But I want to hear what you guys think in the comments. I want to hear what you guys think about the Broncos starting Jarrett Stidham. Kind of a crazy play considering they're not out of the playoff hunt, not at all. They haven't been playing good, but still. Crazy. As always, the NFL is lively. There's always something going on. Another team I want to talk about on this week's episode 7 of OKnowsSports, is the Cleveland Browns. I don't know if you know this, but Joe Flacco has thrown for over 310 yards in the last 3 games, and all 4 starts this season, he's got 2 touchdowns or more. Their defense is firing. Greg Newsome, he's from my hometown. He's playing amazing at corner. Jeramosu Okamara, however you pronounce his name, their outside linebacker, he's unbelievable. That team they're playing amazing football. And I can tell you this, the Ravens are great, but if they end up running into the Browns, they may struggle. And that's coming from me, the one who said that the Ravens are a juggernaut that maybe can't be beat. This Browns team is something crazy and something that I did not imagine considering Deshaun Watson was their quarterback going into the season. They signed 40-year-old Joe Flacco off his couch eating potato chips with his kids. Now he's throwing for 357 and 3 TDs on your favorite team, 275 yards to Amari Cooper. I mean, he's putting up historic numbers at 40 years old. This is flashing it back to that Ravens Super Bowl run where he had the greatest postseason of all time. I mean, this is Joe Flacco. He's a veteran here. The funniest thing that I've always heard from my buddies is the question, is Joe Flacco elite? Right now, in the last 4 games, sure as hell right he is. He is very elite. He's playing awesome football. It's been fun to watch the Browns play, and I've really enjoyed it. Now we'll talk about some of the matchups in Week 17. Biggest one being probably the Dolphins, who just snuck by the Cowboys, and the Ravens, who just put a beating on the 49ers. For some reason, for the bettors out there, this is a -3 game for the Ravens at home. That means it's an even spread. Personally, I disagree with this. I think it could be a trap for the Ravens, and the Dolphins could end up winning. I think you will see a lot of the money will be on the Ravens, which means that Vegas will want the Dolphins to win. I don't see how it's possible that they're +3, the Dolphins, because Jalen Waddle's out. The Ravens are coming off the win of the season. They're all the momentum. Lamar's playing great. But this is going to be a spectacle of a game, and I'm really excited to watch it. Another game that's pretty important this week is the Lions, who just clinched. Congratulations to them, NFC North champs. Obviously, I'm pretty bummed that the Bears couldn't even contend for it, but I'd rather the Lions over the Packers any day of the week, so congratulations to Dan Campbell and them. But they got a big game against the Cowboys this week. Drop your predictions below on that. Cowboys kind of just got caught up last week with the Dolphins, good team, and nearly lost, almost came out with the win. But they're playing a tough Lions team that, as I talked about last week, that dual rushing attack for the Lions is crazy. Jahmyr Gibbs, I almost put him as our under-the-radar player of the week because of the way that he's just been dominating. He's averaging like 5.5 yards a carry. Instead, I put Kyle Hamilton. If you haven't seen that, go check out the Instagram, OKnowsSports. We do an under-the-radar player of the week, player or play of the week each week on Wednesdays. So check that out. But back to the matchups. We got a lot of good ones. It's going to be an exciting Week 17 for the fantasy football owners. I don't have a fantasy football sleeper of the week because if you're in the finals and you're still competing, then you don't need my help. You got this. I wish you the best of luck. I'm in the finals in one of my leagues. I unfortunately got booted last week. Brees Hall put up a 45 burger on my head. But congratulations for making the finals to whoever you are out there watching if you did. And I wish you the best of luck because there's not many things that feel better than winning a fantasy football championship and bragging to your buddies about it. Going back over the bets from last week, we had Josh Allen anytime rush TD. I talked about that as being our secondary whale play. He ended up with 2 rushing touchdowns. That was a sharp bet from us and a sharp bet from OKnowsSports. Hopefully you guys tailed. If not, it's okay. We got plenty of other episodes coming up. Unfortunately, Alvin Kamara, that was a tough game to watch. I think he had ended with 11 or 12 carries for like 25 yards. It was really a tough game script. They kind of got blown out and taken down, but it's the way it goes sometimes. So our whale play missed, unfortunately. And then our last play of the week last week was Dolphins moneyline -120. That hit barely on a last-second field goal, but hey, it counts just like if they won by 30. So we're excited about that. Now we're going to jump into the bets of this week and Week 17. Obviously, you got to be a little bit careful with players sitting out and whatnot, but here we go. We will now jump into our favorite bets of the week and in Week 17, and we even have a special bet of the week that we'll get into in a little bit. So first off, our whale play of the week that I like the most this week is actually in Thursday night's game in the Browns versus the Jets. As I talked about, I love the way the Browns are playing. I love the way Flacco's playing. I like David Njoku over 5.5 receptions. So, in Flacco's 4 starts, Njoku has over 6 catches in 3 of those 4. And in the last 7 games for the Browns, Njoku has over 6 catches in 6 of the 7. I love this bet because Njoku's a sure shot target for Flacco. He clearly loves him. He's had a TD in all of the last 3 games. I mean, he's Flacco's guy other than obviously Amari Cooper last week. But I'm a big fan of this bet for our whale play of the week. Our next bet, staying in the NFL, is the Buccaneers money line, -140. They are at home against the Saints. The Saints are struggling. I don't know if they're going to start Derek Carr. I don't know if they're going to start Jameis, but they're not playing well. They're not playing good football, and they've kind of just had their backs to the wall the last few weeks. So I love this play for the Bucs because not only are the Saints struggling, but the Bucs are firing. As I talked about earlier, Baker, he's a gamer. He loves the game of football. He went into Lambeau 2 weeks ago, had a perfect game. He was awesome last week. I love the Bucs. They need this win. It's a divisional matchup. They need this win to have a chance at the playoffs. I'm a big fan of this. So we got Bucs money line minus 140 as our second bet of the week. Now we'll jump into our featured sport of the week. No need for the wheel this week as it's bowl season, so we're going to talk a little bit about college football. And first, we'll start with our favorite bet of the week as we're on the topic. Favorite bet of the week in college football is the Ole Miss Rebels +7. That means I buy 2 points off of the spread of +5. They are playing Penn State. I think they're getting disrespected in this game, if I'm being honest. Jackson Dart's starting for Ole Miss. They're starting QB, and he's playing every game. Quinshon Judkins has started. He's their bell cow running back. He's playing in the bowl game. And then the defensive end, Chop Robinson, who is a predicted top 15 pick for Penn State, is sitting out due to maintain his health for the draft. So I think Ole Miss is an easy pick here. I honestly don't mind the money line, but I don't want to get greedy here. So I like +7 Ole Miss Rebels in their bowl game. Now we'll talk about the big boy bowls, those meaning the semifinals. So Washington versus Texas and Alabama versus Michigan. We'll talk first about the 1 seed Michigan against the 4 seed Alabama. I talked about this earlier. I'm not a fan of J.J. McCarthy. I don't think he's had that spectacular of a year, and I don't think he's played an SEC defense yet, or any defense for that matter, or Iowa's good, but they're no Alabama. Kool-Aid McKinstry, for example, is a top 10 player in the draft. He hasn't played anyone like that on Iowa. And I think the way that Alabama and Jalen Milroe is able to run the ball and have such a dynamic offense in so many different ways, they're going to really torment Michigan. I love Alabama to take down Michigan in this contest. I think it's going to be a good game, though, because Michigan does have a great rushing attack, and Alabama's weakest point of their team is their rushing defense. But I still think Alabama comes out with the win. It's kind of hard to say anything against Nick Saban. He's arguably the greatest college coach of all time. Probably is. And then, secondly, we'll talk about Texas against Washington. I think this is also going to be a good game. I mean, we got a treat on our hands this weekend with the NFL Week 17 and college football. But either way, I think this is going to be a good game, but I'm confident in Texas here. And the reason I say that is not just because Ewers and that offense is clicking, but I think guys that don't get talked about a ton on that Texas defense, for example, T'Vondre Sweat, their big nose tackle, number, I think, 93 in the middle, he clogs up the middle in the running attack. He is very, very talented, and he's a predicted first-round pick in this next year's draft. He's probably about 350, 6'6". He is a road grader. He gets through the O-line like it's nothing, like it's Swiss cheese. I think he's going to be pressuring Penix all day, and I think Penix is going to struggle with that. On top of T'Vondre Sweat, Anthony Hill Jr., their true freshman, number 0, who plays outside or inside linebacker. He plays both for Texas. I think he is going to torment Penix as he throws a lot of balls across the middle. Anthony Hill's 6'4", and he plays linebacker. He is a beast. The 18-year-old is, I mean, he's awesome, and I think he's a big reason why this Texas defense has been so good. So I like Texas to take down Washington. And I think they got a good shot against them. And I like Texas against Alabama in the national championship. And I don't know if you guys remember, but for the loyal fans out there in OKnowsSports, go back and watch if you haven't seen my emergency press conference about the college football playoff. We predicted that Alabama and Texas would be tough matchups and they'd be tough to play against. And if they got past, then probably nobody's stopping them but each other. So I'm predicting the same thing here as I did about 6 weeks ago or 5 weeks ago whenever the college football playoff came out. But I love these two teams. Comment what you think below about the Final Four. Do you think I'm completely wrong and it's going to be a Michigan-Washington playoff? Or do you think I'm right and do you think it's going to go the way we said at OKnowsSports? I want to hear what you guys have to say about that. And now we'll jump into my favorite comment of the week. As I always say, I would love to see as many comments as I can on these videos. I love looking at all of them, thinking of my answers, and choosing which ones to use in the next week's video. We'll stay on the topic of Ole Miss this week. We got user QC3, whoever that is. Thank you for the comment. I love the long analysis on it as well. Always makes me happy to read a long comment. Can tell you guys watch the video. It makes me happy. So we're talking about Ole Miss. We're staying on the topic. I already said I love the football team this week, +7 against Penn State. Now we're talking about college hoops. If you didn't see last episode, we talked a lot about college basketball. And he's talking a little bit about the Rebels. They're 12-0, and he wants them to be talked about a little more. He said they could be pesky. I couldn't agree more. I think, like you said, they got two big men, both over 7 feet, and no team really has that other than UConn. I'm trying to think of the other teams, maybe Kansas as well. There's not a ton of teams that have 2 7-footers on their roster. And I think, although the SEC is the strongest it's ever been in basketball, really, with teams like Tennessee, with Kentucky, with top contenders in that conference, with Auburn, Arkansas. I mean, they got a lot of teams that can ball in that conference. But I like Ole Miss, even though, like you said, user Q3C, Ole Miss's strength of schedule is not great. Once they get into conference play, I think we'll really be able to test them and see, is this team for real? I like them as a 7 to 10 seed in the tournament. I think they end up probably getting 4th, maybe 5th, 6th in the SEC. But because of their strength of schedule and because they started out so good, I like them coming in as a 7 seed, maybe an 8 seed in the tournament, and kind of shocking the world because I love what you said. Their length, it means a lot in basketball, especially in college, when fouls mean so much with only 5. So if one guy is at 3 or 4 in foul trouble, the other guy can step right in. Jalen Wilson's a beast from St. Peter's. Comment what you guys think about my take and about user Q3's take about Ole Miss basketball. But let's go Rebels this week, especially in football and also in college hoops. So we got our favorite bets of the week and our favorite takes of the week here on episode 7 of OKnowsSports. Looking back on it quick, just to run a quick review before we end the episode, we got David Njoku over 5.5 receptions, hitting 6 of the last 7 games. Joe Flacco loves Njoku, loves how the big man plays. And then we also have the Bucs -140 money line at home against the Saints. Baker's been on a tear lately. We love that bet. And then lastly, we have the Ole Miss Rebels +7 in their bowl game against Penn State, buying the 2 points. They're not really getting respected enough, and I think a touchdown for them is kind of ridiculous. So I'm a huge fan of those bets. And then we're talking about our takes as well in the college football playoff. We love Alabama to take down Michigan with ease. And we love Texas to beat Washington in a tight one for sure, because Penix is good, no doubt. Thanks for listening. As always, love having you guys on the channel. Comment and talk about what your predictions are. And if you disagree with what I have to say, I want to hear it because I always love debating. We're going to start doing lives coming up soon on Instagram and on YouTube as well. And we're going to talk about things kind of off the cuff. You know how we love to do it here. We love the statistics and we love going off the cuff here at OKnowSports. Thanks for listening. We'll see you soon. Peace.